Hello, hello. Welcome to the live. Say hello, guys, when you join. Thank you for joining 2 persons on the live. Hey, Dyson. What's cracking? Welcome to the live, everyone. 5 persons on the live. Like the live once you get in. Share with a friend. Share with a family member. Let me say thank you guys for joining. For those who are here now. I'm curious as to how you almost get. Yeah, we'll get into that. Just allow it a few more persons to join. I just want to say thank you guys for joining. Share with a friend, share with a family member. Once you're in, just like up the live. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new here. Or you can wait until the end of it or during the course of it. I do lifestyle content here. Cleaning, cooking, baking. Just, you know. If you want to hang out on YouTube, view videos. Thank you guys for joining. I'll start when we have, let's say, maybe 40 or 45 persons. We're at 44. But like the live, guys, like the live. Once you're in, just like the live, press the like button, share it with a friend or family member. So we are 31. Like I said in the description, I'm just going to be sharing a story about how I almost got kidnapped while I braid my hair. It's freshly washed. I grilled a chicken for 2 hours today. I still wouldn't tell me. Okay. 36. Once you reach 40, I'll start. This is my hair growth oil. Thank you. So, this Saturday, I didn't see anybody else I'm familiar with. Who's Grace Bree? Hi. Hi, Liam. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Junior. Thanks for joining. So, just a little preamble before I get into my story about how I almost got kidnapped. As a child, I watched a lot of, I would say, movies that basically had a lot of action, if you want to say. That is maybe gun violence, human trafficking, and quite a bit of things. So from a child, I would say I was pretty much aware of the things that were happening around me. So I would just be somewhat very vigilant, I would say. So these things I all was always on the lookout for, I would say. So this actually, hi Sister Riley, thanks for joining. This was like something that was in me. I always very aware of my surroundings. And I think now more than ever, we have to be very careful with the places we go. And I mean, it could happen anywhere at any time. So really and truly, you cannot, I would say that you can't be too prepared. And it's not only for children, but also for adults, because you never know who people are and you never know what their intentions are. Some can be pretty much vile, so it's always important to teach your children to be aware of their surroundings and to teach your children to know what to do just in case they end up in some kind of predicament where these things can happen and they can become victim, because nobody wants to lose a child from being kidnapped. Nobody wants to lose a child or a family member and not knowing what happened to them because they were taken for some unknown reason. You don't know who people are out there and you don't know what their motives are. So it's very, very important to be aware of your surroundings. One, I must say, and teach children from young. Children are pretty much sponges. They would adopt and take on certain things, like practice certain things and be aware and so on. as children, and as they grow, it will stay with them. So as it is, I can remember I was actually in the US and I was with my mom at the time. This happened when I was 12 actually. It wasn't recent. So that's why I said to let your children know from a pretty young age the dangers that lurk. And I think from when I was 12 to even now, things are even worse. There's human trafficking and all these things that are going on. So people selling organs and all sorts of different things. So I would say let your children be aware of their surroundings. Keep an eye on them as much as possible, because at the end of the day, as adults, you're responsible for your children. So this was back when I was 12, like I mentioned before. And my mom and I, we went to this store in Brooklyn called Bobby's. I guess for the New Yorkers or those who live in New York and who would have visited, most persons should be familiar with that store. It was like probably the nowadays Walmart, or yeah, probably the nowadays Walmart or one of those stores. So they basically sold clothing, furniture and household items. I don't think furniture, probably like the small stuff like kitchen appliances and so on. So my mom and I, we got to the store first, and we were there and we were waiting for my aunt and a cousin to come and join us before we go into the store. And I remember specifically we were standing right outside the exit slash entrance for the store. That's the front of the store. So while we were there standing, there were numerous persons passing, because probably this was like, let's say maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we were there standing waiting on my aunt and my cousin to come. So I remember specifically the store guard. He was standing on the outside, of course, probably, I guess, minding his own business. So eventually I noticed this pickup, well, this van. Some of us may know these vans that only have like the front windows, which is the passenger side on the door and the driver side window. And the back of the van has no windows. It's just basically a continuation from like the fender area. It goes right up, so there's no windows at the back. I think there's like utility vans now, people usually use them for. So there's usually no windows at the back. I remember specifically one pulled up in front of where we were actually standing up outside the store. It was dark in color, kind of like a dark blue. And I remember it just pulling up and stopping there. So while the van was there, my aunt came and then my cousin subsequently came after. But before that, I remember while we were standing outside, there was this short Indian guy, I must say, that came around from the driver's side, and he stood like, there's a store and then there's a pavement and then the van is parked on the side of the road, and he stood right next to, whether it was the passenger side or the driver's side window, he stood there. So while he stood there, I remember he like kept watching at me. I think my aunt came first, and my mom and my aunt, they were talking, so we were still waiting on my cousin. So I remember specifically he kept looking at me, and at one time he was like smiling, but as a child I was like, okay, you're a man, I ain't gonna be smiling with you. So we were outside, I would say probably give and take maybe 15 to 20 minutes, and before my cousin came and we entered the store. So while we were there, I remember when we got in, because Bobby's, how it was situated, there's like aisles on the far right when you go in, and then there were like these bins with like stuff that were on sale. So there were these bins, and then there were aisles beyond the bins. But when you get in on your left hand side, there were these racks with clothing and shoes, and there were other stuff on the wall like sweat, because it was springtime. This would have probably been April, May of 2000 and something. 2002, 2003, 2003, I believe. No, can't be 2003. It would have been 2001. 2001. April. They're about April, May. Because it was springtime at that time. So they had like sweaters, well, cardigans and sweaters on the wall. I could remember because I got one from there. So when we went into the store, of course you're looking around, you were looking to purchase stuff and so on. So it was all four of us at this time, and we were in the store probably like a good 15-20 minutes in the first section, and going into around the bin areas and so on. We were there also just checking out stuff. Eventually there were some items that my mom and my aunt became interested in, so I ended up in the area of the bins, closer to where the shelves were. So during this time I basically walked away from my mom, my aunt, and my cousin. Well, my cousin she was actually with me at that time, which is like after perhaps I would say maybe 40-45 minutes of being in the store, because we were in there for quite a bit, I would say. So I would say roughly just about after like 40 minutes. After like 40 minutes being in the store, my cousin and I, we were closer to each other. She was older, probably in her mid-20s at that time. And we ended up like walking towards where the shelves or the aisles were. You know, like when you go into the supermarket, there's aisle 1, 2, 3. So we were basically in that area. So while we were in that area, my mom and my aunt, they ended up going to like the customer service area to inquire about something that they were interested in. So my cousin and I, we were now within the first aisle. Once you get into the first aisle, you really and truly, you couldn't see where the customer service or the cashier area was. So basically my mom or my aunt, they couldn't see us anymore. They couldn't see us, we couldn't see them, because we were in the first aisle. So I remember just looking at things that were on the shelves, that were in the aisle, and eventually somehow I ended up walking away, going like into perhaps the second aisle, because it was like going down one and coming up the other. And I was no longer where my cousin was. So eventually, I would say maybe 5-10 minutes after, or probably not 10, but maybe like 5 minutes after we were there. And I know I was now in another aisle, and she was probably in the one before me. I'm not sure. So I was there just checking out the stuff, the items on the shelves and stuff. Whatever it was interesting to me at the time. I couldn't remember which aisle it was and what the contents were. But while I was there, just looking, minding my own business, had no adult supervision on me at the time. And guys, I was, like I said, I was 12, but I was a big 12. I probably could have passed for maybe a 16-year-old when I was 12. So the reality of it, I guess the guy probably thought that I was older. But it was, like I said, the short Indian guy. And he had on all black. He had on a black shoes. He had on a black pants. And he had a, I don't think it was a hoodie, but he had a hat. I think he had like these baseball kind of, like these sports sweater, or it was like a leather, but it had a little like sheen to it, but it was all black. I remember that much. I could see his face. Even now, I could still see his face, what he looked like and everything. Strange enough, and this is more than 20 years ago. So I remember, like I said, I was going up one aisle, coming down the other. Going up one, coming down the other. Going up one, coming down the other. So I was probably like in the second aisle now. Then all that I saw, like when I looked up, because I was looking on the shelves and so on, this guy was less than 2 feet away from me. Yes, less than 2 feet away from where I was standing. And he was just standing there looking at me and smiling. So I was like, why is this dude like smiling at me? Because I wasn't sure what was happening at the time, but I was somewhat, I would say, cautious. And I was curious as to, this is weird. He's supposed to be there smiling at me. But anyway, I was like halfway down the aisle, and he was just there. When I looked up, just there, stand up, watching and smiling at me. So I found that to be a bit weird. So I walked past him and I continued down the aisle. I think I went into the other aisle, and when I got into the other aisle, I was there again minding my business. Next thing I know, the fella was there again, like right in front of me. This time maybe like 5 feet away, and he was walking, coming closer to me. Again, I was like, what's happening? I didn't click then and there, like immediately, that something is wrong. It was not until I continued along, I went into the next aisle, and then when I look up, the fellow was there. He had nothing in his hand. He didn't have a basket or anything to say that, okay, he was probably buying something or anything like that. He was just there standing. And at one point, his hands were like in his jacket pocket. Like looking very sus. As the young people would say these days. Looking very sus. So I was like, no. So when he started approaching me that time, this was like, this is the third time. While I was in the aisle, I was like, nope, something is not right. And that is, at that point, I basically shouted out for my cousin. So I shouted out her name, and she answered. And from when she answered, it was like if she was basically in the like a aisle or two away from me. However, after she answered, I just ran off into her direction when I heard her voice, which happened to be away from where he was. I ran off. And when I got to her, I told her, I said, there's this guy basically following me. And you better believe it. When I told her that, and I looked back, this man was nowhere in sight. Nowhere in sight. Nowhere. For the entire, like the duration of time that we spent in the store, I didn't see him again. When I told her that, we went to where my mom and my aunt was, and we stood there like at customer service waiting for them to get whatever they were trying to get. And I was looking around, but I did not see him. After I left the aisle, I did not see him again. However, we spent probably like another 15-20 minutes in the store while they were getting what they wanted and cashing out and so on. Didn't see him again. When we went outside, the van was still there, parked right where it was before we entered the store. So, I was looking around. And let me tell you, even the van, you couldn't see in the van. Like the front windows, you couldn't see in it. I guess because of the glare from the light and the buildings and all this. Because remember, it was like about probably minutes to 3 at this point. Because we spent, I would say, maybe an hour or so in the store. Hi, Reza, I'm good. No, he couldn't get no crush on me. I was like I said, I was like 12. That is pure kidnap vibes. Because I don't know you, you don't know me, and you just following me in the store. And then when I shout for my cousin and I look back, you were nowhere to be found. And I remember specifically my cousin, he had a daughter some years back, and there was a woman in that store taking his daughter through the back door, which was like close to the aisle that we were in, or I would say that I was in. So I don't know what it was, but I am grateful to God that I did not fall victim to that, because you guys probably wouldn't have known me. So what happened is that when we got outside and this man was nowhere to be found, but his vehicle was still there, I kept looking even more at that point. But what I didn't do is that I didn't tell my mom and my aunt anything at that point. I didn't say anything. I just told my cousin, like right when I went towards her. But after that, I didn't say anything to my mom until I got home. And like I said, when we went out the store, there was nobody there. The van was there. I didn't see him. I didn't lay eyes on him again. So we were out there. So my aunt, like I said, bought stuff. My mom bought stuff. Can't remember if my cousin bought stuff, but my mom got some stuff, I got some stuff. Well, she got some stuff for me, and we were basically waiting on a cab. While we were there, while we were waiting, I didn't see this man again. Didn't see him again. Did not see him again. Lo and behold, When we got in a car, because we waited until my aunt got a car first, my cousin got a car, and then mom and I were supposed to get a car. When we jumped into our car, I kid you not, the investigative part of me, I just like looked back, and would you believe this van drove out behind our cab? Would you believe that? The van that the guy came out of and that was parked in front of Bobby's, that wasn't moving all the time for probably 15-20 minutes that we were there waiting on the cab. The van drove out behind our cab. I kid you not, because I kept looking back. And this van followed our cab for about 5 blocks, taking each and every turn that our vehicle was making. I kid you not, this man or this van was following our cab. Legit. Just driving behind it. Keeping probably like 4 car lengths, 5 car lengths behind our cab. Lucky? I don't even think it's luck. But he followed our cab probably like 5 to 6 blocks. I remember we made at least 3-4 turns, and the van was behind our cab. The van was behind our cab, I tell you. It was behind our cab. And I figured after that, is like, because we had a little way more to go, he just gave up. And then at one point, he just turned off and went about his business. And I don't think that's any coincidence. He probably just gave up because you were driving too far. That is what I think. We were probably driving too far. And he gave up. And I'm grateful that he gave up, because when we were in the US, we were staying at this apartment building. And well, you had to buzz in and they have code and stuff, but the mere fact that he would have probably been aware of the area that I probably live and stuff, I believe that he would have probably tried something again. Because when people are so desperate, you don't know what they can do or what they're willing to do at that time. So I was grateful, and I am grateful that I was knowledgeable enough, and I basically used my brain and I realized that something was up, and was able to escape that, because it's no good feeling to know that you lost a loved one through any means, especially them just being taken from you. And it was a lesson, even to when I did tell my mom and my aunt afterwards, they were like, oh, we should have looked at you better, and even mentioned that I should have told them, because at that point people in the store could have just like located him. Maybe he's wanted, or maybe he could have been linked to some other kidnapping from the store or any place else and stuff like that. Because most of these people is like, it's not a one-time thing. Sometimes they did it before, and it's something that they've been doing for a good while or something like that, because how he was moving, I don't know if he was moving like a pro, but maybe I can't say that he was moving like a pro, because he waited even after I would have went back to where my mom and everybody was. He waited until, and that's the part that was frightening, he waited until basically we caught a cab and followed us for those 5 to 6 blocks to see where we were going. So let's say, for instance, I was living close by. He would have known where I was living and stuff like that. So it's important to teach your kids from young. So, as they say now, stranger danger, because it's real. You can be here and then for some reason it could be spontaneously somebody takes a child or so on, or they could be watching you for a while, studying your movements, because that's how criminals operate. That's how people that are associated with such things, that's how they operate. I know for sure that when it comes to safety, you cannot be too careful. And I always say that you cannot be too careful, because at the end of the day, your life is valuable to your family and your loved ones and those around, and nobody wants to know that they lose a loved one like that. Next thing you know, you're sold to some other continent somewhere, and like human trafficking, sex trafficking, all of these things are real, and it's happening even more rampant now. So it's important as individuals. I mean, it might be not only children but adults. I see some folks so many times, so often, it's like you're at one place, you might be eating and so on. I think Facebook had this like check-in feature at one point, where you can like share your location if you're out with family, friends, or whatever, or you're at this restaurant, or you're at that restaurant, or this park, this playground, and stuff like that. And you like sharing these things. People could be tracking you and you don't even know, because you never know. But people can be tracking you and you never know what exactly is happening around you, because you don't know people and you don't know what their intentions are. I remember one time I heard a story about some individual that posted their picture while they were away on vacation, and when they came back, their house were their house was empty. People broke in and stole everything, which, I mean, that's crazy. But when you look back at it, you show that, oh, you would have traveled and you're here or you're there. That's why it's important, if you're traveling, have somebody visit your home, pick up your mails and stuff like that. Because once these things like piling up and so on, that's what burglars look for and so on. As ladies, be vigilant when you're going to your car, when you're leaving work late, etc. Just be careful. Put the phone away. When you're going to your door, have your keys out ready to just open and enter your home, because people be lurking, and it's not only for children, it's for adults too. Teach your kids from the time that they can speak. Teach them about stranger danger, not to speak to strangers. I know there's like a lot of videos circulating now where they do like social experiments. Some cousins, sometimes parents themselves, take their kids to the park, and you see people just come up asking them like, if they want ice cream, or if they want, oh, they do it with a lot of animals like puppies, and tell them, oh, we have more in the car, you want to see them? All these things, stranger danger. So that is my story on how I almost got how I almost got kidnapped when I was in the US as a child, just 12 years old. And if I wasn't taught certain things, or I wasn't shown certain things, I probably would not have had the knowledge and the sense to just do something, because I know that that man he was ready to go with me. I am so certain that he was ready to go with me, because ain't no way. And I'm convinced because the vehicle was following ours when we left Bobby's, and the fact that he disappeared after I shouted for my cousin, something was up. Something was definitely up. And nobody wants to get kidnapped. I don't want to get kidnapped or abducted at no point in life. Most people don't make it out of those situations. So that is my 2 cents on being aware of your surroundings and teaching your kids from early age to be aware of their surroundings, one, and strangers, because it's real out here. It's happening to children and it's happening to adults. So folks, be safe, be careful what you do, how you do it, when you post, and what you post. Not everybody needs to know every move that you make, especially when it comes to your home and your surroundings and your safety. It's very much important. I mean, you're going on a trip or so somewhere, you can post your pictures and so on after. People will still see them. Folks will still see them. Not when you check in or when you're on a plane and you're going here and stuff like that. Just be cautious, be careful, because you never know who is who. And that is my 2 cents. I want to thank everyone who joined. Riza asked if I cooked. No, I didn't cook. I have some brought forward. Who is the one person on the live? You can say hello in the chat. Thank you for staying to the end. I'm going to go finish my hair now. Just wanted to share that story. It has been on my mind for a little bit to share with you guys, just to be careful and be aware. Hi Shamela. You can never be too careful. You can never ever be too careful. Glad that you did. Hope you hit that like button. Yeah, I just wanted to share that because I'm not sure if you guys got it done by your end, but even last night, is yesterday, probably afternoon, I was just sitting here and I saw an Amber Alert came across on the phone. Not sure if you did. A 14-year-old. Yeah. I didn't even get to check today, like, to see if there's any update. But it came to my phone also. So just be careful of your surroundings. It's important. Be vigilant. Oftentimes we are on our phones checking this and checking that, not observing that the same person that was in the last store with us is now in the second one with us. I mean, it could be a coincidence, but it's not always so. So be careful out there. Thank you for sticking to the end. I think I'm gonna end it here now. Yeah, it's it's better safe than sorry indeed. Yeah, because when you look at the stats, I mean, it's crazy. Thousands of people missing every year, cannot be found. If they do find them, is years after, and it's corpse, it's not bodies, it's not them in their living state. So it's important. So nice having you. You take care and have a good evening. You too, my dear. Thanks for tuning in. Bye now, everybody. Take care and be blessed.